Good evening and welcome to the March 19th Village of Tuckahoe Planning Board meeting. Nancy, please take attendance.
Commissioner Nierenberg? Present. Commissioner Barra?
Present.
Commissioner Charamella? Present. Chairman Leo?
Present. On the agenda this evening, we have 6 items. Number 1 is the approval of the meeting minutes. Number 2 is 242 White Plains Road, which has been adjourned. Item number 3 is 47 Roger Street, which also has been adjourned. We have 82 Wallace Street, site plan review. They're here this evening. We also have 32 Pleasant Place, that is adjourned, and 29 Elm Street, which is here this evening and present. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes held on June 19th. And this, can I have a second?
June 15th, oh, June 19th?
You need a second.
Yes, I was here. 4.
Turn your mic on.
Oh, excuse me. Approved, yes.
Okay, 4?
4.
Okay. All in favor? All in
Aye.
favor? Okay, so Nancy, that's approved. Can we have, at this point, 29 Elm Street come up? Hi. Just state your name and your address.
Yes, my name is Carolyn Benitez, the owner of Little Chameleon at 29 Elm Street,
Could you talk louder?
Tuckahoe, New York, 10707.
It's very
Hold
low.
on.
I'll start.
No, wait, it's still off. Oh,
I'll start again.
okay.
I'll start again. My name is Carolyn Benitez. I'm the owner of Little Chameleon at 29 Elm Street, Tuckahoe, New York, 10707.
Thank you. Okay, tell us about your project.
Yes, I'm here to see if I can amend my site plan. I am currently a retail space as well as a play cafe and a party venue. I would like to amend the site plan so that I can offer drop-off services to children. I am understanding that there would be no more than 6 children per session. Each session would be no longer than 2.5 hours, and there would be a limit of 2 sessions per day.
So tell us about what you're looking to do in those sessions.
Sure.
What's the program?
It's an opportunity for mothers or caretakers to have a break and leave their children with us. We would like to provide enrichment opportunities, open play, and just general supervised care. However, providing enrichment for the children, whether that be arts and crafts or various games, music, opportunities for the children to have additional enrichment in their lives.
Okay, so can you kind of walk us through where you plan on doing this and how parents will drop off the children, how they're received, and how to go to
Absolutely.
the physical space? Take the mic with you, please.
So my business actually is...
Hold on a second. I just want to make sure. Okay, now, go ahead. I'm sorry. Just want to make sure everyone can see it at home.
It's relatively unique in that I actually have 2 entrances to my business. One is here at the vestibule located on the drawing. That is where the actual address of Little Chameleon is. That enters into a lobby where it goes upstairs to a pediatrician's office, and then it also comes into where we currently have our play cafe as well as our activity room. This door would actually be closed during these drop-off activities, just to secure the space and make sure that the children were secure there. My second entrance is actually through these doors on the corner of Yonkers and Elm. And that is where families would park here in these 5 allotted spaces or in the surrounding parking that is metered. And they would come through these doors. This is currently our retail establishment, so we would have a cashier or somebody else from the store actually greeting the children. I myself would actually physically be running these drop-off programs, or would have a supervised staff waiting here at this second door that also would have an automatic closure and be able to greet the children, let them in, and say goodbye to the parents.
Okay. So when a parent drops off a child, will it be at the front door or within your retail space or at,
They would come in through this first entrance here.
right?
We would have some staff members greet them,
Okay.
take the children, and then escort them through the boutique, or the families themselves would escort them through the boutique, but make sure that they're handed off to me or another assistant here at the door before they enter the play space.
Right, so after the event, after the playtime is over, a parent comes back in and collects their child within your
Correct.
space.
They would then, again, this door is locked, so we would not be allowing people to come and enter from this door.
Right.
We would direct them to come through, follow the procedure, and come through the retail boutique, which hopefully might also generate some additional revenue if people wanted to buy, sell, and trade with us.
Right.
And then also be able to pick up here. So my staff member would then escort the family here. We would have a clear line of sight so that there is a window there so people could see who's coming and going. Once we recognize that caretaker, who's the authorized person to pick up, we would then release the child to them.
Okay. And you said you had five parking spaces. Are those dedicated to you?
Correct.
Okay. And, all right, so the parents can have ample space to drop off their children, parking space, actually. And I know there's ample parking along the roadway there as well.
There is.
There's metered parking there as well. So.
Yes, on all sides of the building.
All right. Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
No, I just was wondering, at dismissal time, students are brought to the door that they came in from? Is that what happens? So the
Correct.
parents...
There's only one door that would be allowing people to enter or exit, and that would actually be this door
that one.
into the retail space. Now, this door coming to the vestibule here, where the elevator is to the pediatrician's office, that does have a push bar on it for emergencies, so people can, you know, it is an egress.
Emergency exit.
Exactly, but the door would actually be locked during these drop-off periods so that families really are forced to use the procedure that we'll set in place where they're coming in through the main entrance of the boutique.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions?
No,
Ray, any
Think we're-
questions?
pretty thorough.
Okay, so at this point, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Is anyone here to speak on this application this evening? Since there is no one here this evening to speak on this application, I make a motion to close the public hearing. Second?
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so the public hearing is closed. So at this point, I would like to read a resolution, Planning Board Resolution, applicant Little Chameleon, Inc., location of the project is 29 Elm Street, Tuckahoe, New York, Section 32, Block 4, Lot 11. Description of project, applicant is seeking to amend its approved site plan to include offering a drop-off service for children to its existing location. The children would participate in certain supervised activities during the time they are at that location. SECR resolution, pursuant to the regulations of SECR, this board finds that, 1, the action taken herein is unlisted action, subject to the requirements of SECR and its implementing regulations. 2, the board is in possession of all information reasonably necessary to make the determination as to the environmental significance of the proposed site plan application. 3, the action taken herein shall not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, and it's declared that a negative declaration is hereby adopted with regards to this action. So the following is the resolution decision of the Planning Board of the Village of Tuckahoe, New York. Applicant is seeking to amend its site plan, which is currently for a retail space and party room, to offer a drop-off service for children to participate in supervised activities in the party room. After hearing the applicant at the work session and the public hearing, the amended site plan is approved with the following conditions. 1, there shall be no more than 6 children per session. 2, the duration of each session shall be no longer than 2.5 hours. 3, there shall be no more than 2 sessions per day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. 4, the drop-off of the children shall be at the main double-door entrance, and there shall be staff to meet the child at the entrance and escort the child back into the party room. 5, pickup shall be at the same front door entrance, where a staff member shall escort the child from the party room to the front entrance. 6, the door separating the retail location from the party room shall have a self-closing mechanism installed. 7, applicant must comply with all state, county, and local regulations if any are applicable. The applicant is further requesting sublease options, but the request for the same is denied at this request is premature. If applicant has a subtenant, then said subtenant must apply to this board for an amended site plan. Every representation of the applicant made in its application and presentation will be a condition of this approval. Any deviation from the representations made shall be cause for the revocation of said approval. Meeting date is today, 3/19/2019, and it's approved. Congratulations. I wish you much success, and...
Mr. Chair, you
yes.
need a second and then vote
Oh,
on
I'm sorry. I keep doing that. I apologize.
it.
Can
You
I have
are
a
the
second,
chair,
please?
so.
Second.
Nancy, please take roll.
Yes, Commissioner Nierenberg. For. Commissioner Barra.
4.
Commissioner Charamella.
Approved.
Chairman Leo.
In favor. Now, good luck.
Thank you very
Much
much.
success.
All the best.
At this point, can we also have 82 Wallace Street come up? Oh.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Stephen Benarusso from the law firm of Benarusso, Curto, Schwartz, and Curto, here on behalf of the applicant. I'm also joined here tonight by Ms. Olympia Plata. She's with the Office of the Architect for this project. As the board will recall, this application was originally presented at the August 2018 workshop with the planning board. It was thereafter adjourned while the matter proceeded through the zoning board process. During that process, the project was revised, changes were made in response to the zoning board comments, and the zoning board approval was then issued at the February 13th, 2019 meeting. The applicant's proposed project involves the demolition of a number of vacant improvements currently located at the premises and the construction of a new 3-story residential building. The property is located at the corners of Limekiln Road, Wallace Street, and Maynard Street. Originally, the proposed structure was intended to be used as single-use residential and was going to consist of 52 residential apartments. The makeup of those apartments were going to be 5 studio apartments, 41 one-bedroom apartments, and 6 two-bedroom apartments. That was in conjunction with a ground-level lobby entrance, a mailroom. Laundry facilities were to be provided within the units, as well as indoor underground parking for 71 cars. The main entrance of the building is to be located on Maynard Street. As part of the building redesign, after comments from the zoning board, changes were made to the exterior of the building to not only make it more attractive, but also to tweak the apartment configurations. The building is now structured to be 32 residential units instead of the originally proposed 52, and that the makeup of those apartments consists of 2 studio apartments, 7 one-bedroom apartments, 20 two-bedroom apartments, and 3 three-bedroom apartments. The private buffered landscape areas on all 4 sides of the structure, as well as the rec area located at the west portion of the site for the exclusive use of the residents, is to remain. The design of the building's exterior is to consist of cast stone and a brick veneer, as well as wrought iron railings on all of the balconies. The project will utilize green building design practices and include environmentally conscious building methods such as a blue roof and other sustainable features. I want to point out that, as the board will recall, once at the March 5th meeting was when this matter was workshopped with the board, and there were several topics that came up as comments and feedback from the board. And at this time, the project's architect is still working through those comments, finalizing the drawings, and those drawings will be submitted to the board at the earliest possible date. Lastly, I just want to point out, in accordance with the Code of Ordinance of the Village of Tuckahoe, I would respectfully submit that the project is going to result in a safe, adequate, and convenient vehicular and pedestrian traffic circulation, while also being attractive as far as the exterior design of the building. Additionally, I would respectfully submit that the project will not have any negative environmental impact on the quality of the area, and that the project will aid in the preservation and enhancement of property values in the area. Lastly, I would respectfully submit that the overall quality of the building and the overall site design will greatly enhance and protect not only the character of the neighborhood, but again, the property values of the neighborhood. The applicant, throughout this process, through the zoning process and now through the planning process, has received a number of comments and feedback from the various boards as well as the staff of the building department, and the applicant has taken a conscientious effort to implement those changes, and again, as soon as the new drawings are available, they will be submitted to the board for your review. At this time, I would welcome any questions that the board may have. We have the 2 renderings that have been completed. We also have samples of the brick exterior veneer as well as the stone if the board would like to see them.
At this point, can we work through, have an architectural presentation so the people at home can actually see the project and
Of course.
have an opportunity to see what's going on?
Sure. I would just take the mic with you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay.
State your name
My name is Olympia Plata,
and you're with?
Badali Architects.
Okay. Thank you.
This rendering, this is Wallace Street right here. And this here,
Mm-hmm.
it's Maynard. And then here, they're the same, it's just a different point of view.
Right.
From one side and from the other.
Okay.
The other side. This is the recreation area on Waller Street, and this is the recreation area on the top floor.
Okay, so just to set the project, it's on Wallace's, let's say north-south, and then east-west is Maynard on top and Limekiln below, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so continue, I'm sorry.
Um,
So those two views are views from, I guess, the Limekiln area, one from, let's say, the eastern end and one from the western end, correct?
yes, that's correct. We
Alright.
don't have a rendering from the main entrance.
Okay, so, yeah, one of the things we had asked at the workshop is to also have views from the Maynard side, east and west as well, and also kind of a detailed view of the front entrance area.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So you'll provide that, I guess, as soon as the
Yes, we
drawings
will
are
provide
revised,
that with all the changes that
Okay, so-
we need to make.
All right, so can you walk us through the plan, show us like from the first floor to the second floor? And
Sure.
I think you may need some help to, okay. So those are,
So this is I'm just going to start with the site plan.
Sure.
This is the site plan. Like I said, the renderings that we're providing right now are different view from east and west from Lickling Road. On Maynard Street, we still have to provide
okay.
those renderings.
But the main entrance to the building will be on the Maynard side, correct?
Yes, the
Okay.
main entrance is right here.
Okay.
So we're looking at a basement floor plan, which is basically it's parking, storage room, compactor room, elevator, lobby.
So that the entrance, so you have two levels of parking. The first level, the entrance is from the Limekiln side, correct?
Yes.
And then, so you have how many parking spaces on that level?
On this level, we have 34 parking.
34. And then you also have a parking space on the Maynard level, correct?
Yes.
And that's, how many parking spaces will you have there as well?
This one has 11.
11 parking spaces, okay.
And on upper basement floor plan, we have only 3 units, I'm sorry, gym, we have the meeting rooms, and the laundry room.
And there's apartments on the lower level, on the Limekiln side, correct?
Yes.
All right, so the main outside, because it's below grade, that's where you
Yes.
put in the amenities?
Only, yes.
Correct, so, all right.
Excuse me, where is the?
Hold on.
mentioned this, maybe I just didn't hear. Where is the space where the people from the village will come to collect garbage?
So one of the discussions we had is where you're going to place the actual garbage collection for the building, and then also one of the things we talked about at the workshop is to speak with DPW and the police department to really figure out what is the best locations for the garbage collection, and also speak to the fire department to see how they can approach the building if there's any issues. We'd like to address them now during the design phase versus any after design.
My understanding is those processes are still ongoing, those conversations are still ongoing, and I
Right.
believe with the next submittal to the board, those issues will be addressed.
Okay, so good. One of the things we talked about at the work session was that a set of plans was going to be set to all three agencies and to hopefully have
Yes.
feedback. Has that been done?
That has not happened, as my understanding, as of yet.
They have been sent?
Oh, they
Okay.
have been
Thank you,
submitted.
Bill. All right.
Correct.
When do you think we'll get feedback from them? Okay, ideally, if they can return them by the next work session or a couple of days before the work session, so at least, or if you get them earlier, if we could send them to to the applicant.
And Mr. Chair, I had the opportunity to speak with the chief of police. He's reviewed the plans, and from his perspective, there's no issues that he has.
Okay,
DPW is going to talk about where the trash compactor and everything would go, but
Okay.
from the chief's point of view, everything's good.
thank you. I'm sorry, continue.
So we're gonna move on to the first floor.
Okay.
Okay, so first floor, is where the main entrance is located. We're gonna have a reception area, and we're gonna have one studio, one bedroom, 7 2-bedrooms apartment, and 1 3-bedroom apartment.
Okay,
And this is the second floor plan,
Okay.
which has one studio, 3 1-bedroom apartment, 7 2-bedroom apartments, and 1 3-bedroom apartment.
Excuse me, before you turn,
hold on.
the entrances of parking, or rather, cars or trucks or whatever.
Wouldn't you speak into
Oh,
the
excuse me. The entrance to the drive-off from the street for both buildings, are they opposite each other? Because they kind of look like one and the other are pretty close.
No, they're actually opposite sides of the street. The
Yeah,
one,
they're
one is on
opposite.
Lime Kiln and the other one's on, what's
But
it?
they're on the same street.
No, no, they're
Oh.
on two different sides.
Oh, so that picture is not showing
Well,
one?
that's just the elevation, so they're above that level, so.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay.
That's the main, maybe you just put on the easel. That's the main entrance there on top,
Okay.
on Maynard.
So on
Okay.
Maynard, you have that entrance.
So
there,
that's the, and the garage is on the left,
Okay.
correct?
And then you have the other entrance on the opposite
Good.
side. of the
So
street.
that's where your entry is, on the garage to the left,
Correct.
right? And then the opposite side of the street, is that an elevation of Lime? Lime
The other
Oh,
entrance.
that's Lime Kill's below.
Lime Kill's the
and
bottom.
Maynard's above.
Maynard's above.
Right.
Or maybe you could just put that on the easel for a second so they could see it at home.
The top rendering, this is Maynard, just for clarification.
Right.
That's Maynard, yeah.
Correct.
If you could just show that for anyone at home. That's your main entrance of the building.
Correct.
All right.
And your garage entry is to the left.
Correct.
Okay. And it's just the opposite on the lower,
Well, it's on the side,
elevation.
actually, so the entrance to the garage is on the side.
of the
Correct.
Lime
You
Kill
don't see it
side.
here, right.
Right.
Okay,
All
continue.
right, thank you.
This is the top floor, third floor plan. We have a exterior recreation area, and we have 6 apartments.
6 apartments, right. So that recreation area is accessible to all
Yes, that's correct.
tenants in the building, correct?
Mhm.
All right.
And so the building steps back as you go up.
Yes,
So,
this is
but your
the
third floor,
Right.
it's set back.
The third floor is set back.
Right. One of the things we talked about at the work session is to kind of make that a little more interesting, because right now you have, well, I'm not sure how long the building is, 250 feet of covered area. And one of the things I suggested is perhaps, think about like the High Line. It's a combination of things. It's not just hard surfaces, it's kind of soft surfaces as well, just to make it a little more attractive.
Yes, I believe that's what was one of the comments that we working on taking care of it.
Great. Okay. Anything else you want to show us?
Any more elevations on the side, or the other elevations that you want?
Sure. Again, I just want to show everyone at home what the project would look like. I know there's going to be modifications to the project, but at least they'll see the process.
So are the other two side elevations.
Mhm.
This is where the other entrance for the parking lot is located. And this is the Waller Street elevation that's towards the outdoor recreation area.
Right, so one of the things we had talked about, I'm sorry, is the Wallace Street elevation is an important elevation. That's one of the principal elevations, so I think that needs to be looked at a lot more closely, and a little more care and attention needs to be taken to that elevation, in addition to the Lime Kiln side there.
Yes.
Keep going.
And this is our cross sections. So through the building in relationship also to the neighborhood, the elevations to the other buildings in the neighborhood.
Okay, so can you kind of walk us through the top one is where are you taking that section from?
This one, it's this also was taking.
It'll help, I think, if you put the rendering back forward and just kind of point where you cut the section through. Right.
So cross section number 1
Right.
is taking through here.
In the back. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And this one, I think it's also taking this way,
Right.
but looking the other way. And then this one is the
Cutting
long
through.
one.
Okay.
And you have relations to the other buildings in the
Yes,
vicinity.
they all have the relationship
Right.
to around the neighborhood.
So it's
Right.
in
And
proportion.
one of the challenges of this site is because you're basically on a hill and it goes from high to low, so that's what kind of, I think by stepping the building back, kind of soften that,
Yes,
that
that's
image.
what we did here.
Right.
So you can see the third floor was set back, and these are on the front of.
The adjacent buildings.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else you got for us? Is that it? Okay. Anything else on your end?
No, I would just say, in addition to the aesthetics of the building, which came up at the workshop, in addition to the other list of topics that came up, those are being addressed. And again, as soon as they are ready to be submitted, we'll submit them to the board.
Right. I'd like to just read, because I kind of took some notes, and I
Of
just want to
course.
make sure we're all on the same page.
Sure.
All right. So we talked about the renderings, the additional renderings that from the Maynard side. Okay, that's a very important elevation, so we'd like to see those. On the Maynard side, you'd like to see the entrance of the building, and then on the right-hand side, you have kind of a public area, public-private area with a gazebo, and there's a retaining wall on that side. So I need to kind of understand what's going out on there and what kind of materials you're using for the retaining walls, pavement, landscaping. And the same thing on the as you go on Maynard South, I think you're gonna have another small retaining wall there as well. Just kind of understand what's going on, and hopefully the renderings will kind of show what you're thinking and what you're planning to do there. We talked about the Wallace elevation. That's a very important elevation because people coming from west to east, that's the building they'll see. So ideally, that should be designed so that it becomes kind of a focal point. It may require some layout modifications internally, because I think that's where the staircase is at that end. So hopefully you can make some internal modifications to kind of make that more attractive. We also talked about the kind of design of the building itself. Right now, you guys came a long way from the initial application, and you listened, and you made, I think, a great improvement. But I think there's still more to be done from an aesthetic perspective, because keep in mind, this is a very long building. Right now, it's very uniform, and I think you made some initial efforts to kind of break up the mass with some stone. But you may want to consider maybe articulating the building, maybe coming out a little bit, in a little bit. Also by doing that with some materials. I mean, if you think of some of the buildings that were built on Main Street, they're long buildings, but because they played with the architecture and the materials, you've had, they're not imposing. So again, this is just it's a long building. So we talked about that, and I'm hoping that, you can come back and, kind of design this building a little bit more.
We're looking at a number of different options in
Right.
terms of along the lines you had said, in terms of material. I think the stepping back of the property does help in terms of, it kind of cuts down the mass of the building from street level.
Again, it's a vast improvement. The original one, took me back a little bit. So for you guys listened and, you know, and.
We're still working through it.
And again, I appreciate everything your team has done. You've listened, and that's important, and you've, you know, addressed a lot of our concerns, and I think you guys continue to do that, and I think it's good for both sides.
I did state earlier, Mr. Chairman, we do have samples of the brick. I don't know if the board would like to see any of the samples of the stones we have, or the brick.
Yeah, let me just go through my list, and then I'll show.
Sure.
Yes, Mr.
I was going to bring that up. I know they had samples.
It's fine. Yeah,
You may want to see them.
we talked about them, and I expressed my opinions on them. How's that?
No, they haven't, yeah.
Okay. You have some large retaining walls, specifically on the lime kiln side by the garage. Right now they're just kind of white, and you actually could see it in the lower rendering where the 3 cars are parked. It's kind of a massive wall there, so I need to kind of understand how you're going to treat that wall. It just can't be a massive white wall. All right. We talked about the roof deck. Again, just want to see one large covered roof. Ideally, if you could do a lot of green space. Again, just think of the High Line, the different materials, textures, private spaces. You know, so I think it just enhance your overall offering to the building. And then one of the other issues, not issues, concerns the Commissioner Gorman had was the landscaping around the building. And I think you had mentioned that you had a landscape architect working on some of these issues, so.
Yeah, the landscaping in general, trees, plantings, that's something that's being looked at right now to try and take the board's comments into consideration and utilize it as much as we can.
Right. And Noah, a couple of questions I had from a traffic perspective. I mean, it's 32 units. It's going to have an impact on the local traffic. So we got a sense. Do we need a traffic study, or what's your?
Our traffic engineer looked at the initial plans for the number of units, and it didn't seem to warrant any kind of further study. The traffic impact was minimal, especially considering we consider this to be a transit-oriented development near the train station. The impact on the local streets should be minimal. That was his impression, so I'm relaying that to you. I have a memo that we wrote about it to the zoning board. I can pass along if you'd like.
Yes. Again, my major concern are these lights, the traffic lights, especially on Main Street.
Right.
In Fisher. So, you know, by adding more traffic flow to it and nothing's happening to those lights, you know, it's going to have an impact on those lights. So,
There was several school buses that stop at the building now, that exists now. So we have to figure we're going to have for the students who are on the other side of the street. So
Right.
that's another.
So I would like, you know, that taken into consideration. So if you could speak to George Giacomo, I think his name is, right?
Certainly, yeah, that was you know, taken into consideration during the, as I said, during the zoning
Yeah.
decisions, and you know, when we looked at that, you look at, you know, the potential impact of the zoning change and what's allowed based on what's allowed as of right. You know,
Right.
so the magnitude was not, you know, didn't seem to really generate significant amount of impact. But again, we'll provide that to you.
Every car at that light annoys me. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it just gets longer and longer. So again, it's, people are going to go different ways. I get that, you know, but people will, you know, travel, you know, westward, and that's where I think we have a lot of issues. So I would like that looked at very closely. All right. Did I forget anything else, guys?
I think you covered everything for our last meeting.
Emery, you have any questions? All right. Yeah. Okay. So at this point, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is anyone here this evening to speak on this application? Since no one is here to speak on this application, I make a motion to keep the public hearing open for the next meeting. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So at this point, have no other business. Thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you hopefully next month, and good luck. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
All right, since there's no other business, I make a motion to close the meeting. Second, please. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Aye.